The Fantasy Footballer Studio is sponsored by Walmart. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Tuesday, August 12th, the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Mike, the Fantasy Hitman, Jason Moore. I'm Andy Holloway. Now, I'm looking at the show doc here as we get started, and I'm not sure I trust one piece of information. It says this is show 17,800.
Oh, man, we've been at this a while.
Was I in a coma for about 15,000 shows?
You don't remember when we started at 12 years old.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think that's right.
First to the podcasting game.
I don't think it shows 17,800, but it is the second show of the week. We welcome you in.
I do know that Adam Thielen will still be playing
when we get
football when we get to 17,000.
I don't know what that would mean for how old we are if we get to 17,800, but it probably means AI has made some scientific breakthroughs. And our floating heads are still talking about fantasy football. Was that our voice?
We were robots.
We became robots?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a running back ranking show, the top 10 running backs today to talk through. We got some important NFL news to break down. Undrafted Gems, we're going to talk about some more players this week that we think are interesting and will not be drafted, but you should pay attention to them. And we are still announcing the big deal.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike. Take it away.
UDK for life. Oh, you're doing the getting hyped. Look, if you already have a UDK Plus, Ultimate Foot Clan membership, you're already in. Your eligibility is already set. We do this once a year. If you want to get in, look, you're going to get the Ultimate Draft Kit. Grab it right now, and you're entered in this contest to get an Ultimate Draft Kit for life, which will culminate and we will announce on a big live stream this upcoming Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Also giving away a signed Ja'Marr Chase jersey on that live stream as well. So looking forward to it. UltimateDraftKit.com. You can check that out.
I do want to say,
yes,
everyone, make sure you stay tuned to today's show because at some point during the show, I won't tell you when, a gigantic super pop star is showing up to announce something huge.
You talking about our podcast war, Mike?
No. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm just talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about we just for no reason at all. There is a super mega celebrity on this show, and they got a big announcement.
Oh yeah,
they're announcing a new.
We put the Kelseys on blast, and then all of a sudden,
weird.
They bring on
Weird how that happened.
Overtake us in the rankings. Nonsense. Keanu, just stay back behind the door for a little while.
Mr. Reeves.
Did you say our counter to the Taylor Swift?
Yeah, you're darn right.
He's announcing the next three John Wicks.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Oh, I blew it.
Oh no.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
No, Mr. Reeves, you don't need to be here anymore. We spoiled the surprise.
Dang it. There will be more Wicks.
I tagged Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes.
Are they coming on
I'm
the
sure
show?
they're going to answer me soon, and then we can counterpunch.
This
darn
next movie
Kelseys.
is called Dontavian.
Is it?
Dontavian Wicks?
There.
Oh, gosh.
This time, he can't catch.
Goodness gracious. But yeah, stay tuned for that.
Undrafted Gems, presented by Walmart.
During the month here leading up to kickoff, we are identifying some late-round undrafted players to keep an eye on. As preseason rolls on, we've had injuries as well, so suddenly some other players are becoming maybe more interesting, but give me a name.
Well, injuries and holdouts. For mine, I want to bring up Ray Davis, a name we haven't really talked a lot about.
Not enough.
This offseason, the Buffalo Bills, one of the best offenses, obviously led by Josh Allen. You expect them to score a ton of points. Last year, 16 rushing touchdowns from James Cook. there's a lot of fantasy value here. Right now, James Cook trending towards the right direction to get back to practice.
He practiced today
and play. So, I don't think he's going to hold out into the season and miss game checks by any means. But we have seen people that are skipping practices, holding in. All of a sudden, the season starts. They're not fully ready. Maybe their body isn't ready. Injuries can happen.
Yeah, you fat Thor.
Yeah, you fat Thor. And Ray Davis.
That worked out so perfectly for you.
Yeah, it really did. Josh Jacobs.
That year doesn't make sense. He was that bad, and then all of a sudden he's great again.
Yeah.
So don't fat Thor.
Don't fat Thor, and maybe don't James Cook. So Ray Davis currently is just involved in a three-way timeshare, and it's not great, but I do think that he is a very good player on a great team. Really liked his tape. He was a rookie last year, and he showed some flashes. He didn't play as much as you would want, but when he got the opportunity, he was pretty good. And in fact, I just want to remind people, there was a game James Cook missed last year. First of all, in the preseason that we saw where James Cook didn't play, with the starters, Ray Davis was like 6 of 8 snaps. He was really involved. And in the one game last year that James Cook missed, all of a sudden, Ray Davis, who had to that point, been playing very few snaps, came in 20 carries, 97 yards, 3 receptions for 55. He was a really valuable running back that week. So I just like targeting when you're not going to necessarily draft him, right? This is undrafted gems. But pay attention, because if week 1 something happens, I do think Ray Davis, even though it will continue to be a timeshare, he is a good player on a great offense who would have opportunities, good pass catcher, able to be used around the goal line. So he's someone to pay attention to.
Last week we talked about Zach Ertz, Woody Marks, the backup running back for the Texans. Austin Eckler was Mike's pick. Mike, who do you have this week?
So I mentioned him last week, I guess? We
could have been yesterday.
Yes, I don't.
This just shows 17,800.
I have no idea. But we did a mock draft, and I brought up at the very end Braylon Allen, and then I mismanaged my mock draft and should have drafted him instead of my second quarterback. But it's Braylon Allen, running back for the New York Jets, which, fun fact for Braylon Allen, he has the most rushing yards ever for a running back before turning 21, because that's what he is. He is a baby boy.
He's a humongous
but he is
boy.
The Incredible Hulk, and like athletically gifted. And Coach Aaron Glenn of the Jets, they have been talking pretty much the whole offseason about how this is going to be a timeshare. It's the reason we're concerned about Breece Hall's ADP. And so we need to look at the other side of that pendulum of Braylon Allen's ADP is way too low. Now, it could turn out that it's really Davis, Allen, and Breece Hall, the three of them, and then we got a big problem. But if it just turns into his version of the Lions, with Braylon Allen being so young and so strong, there is a chance that he really carves out a role in this offense.
All right, the name I'll bring up, Torrey Horton, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. He was a 5th-round pick out of Colorado State. The camp vibes have been so positive. He's turned heads. He's making plays every single day. He caught a touchdown in the week 1 preseason game, and he seems to be winning the starting outside wide receiver job over MVS in Seattle camp. I think as the years go by, and I have, in League of Record, I have like so few picks every year.
Yeah.
I'm just becoming more and more addicted to taking shots on rookies later in the draft.
I believe your second pick is in the 7th round.
We don't need to be specific about my draft. There was a cost.
That's not hyperbolic.
To some
No. These are called facts.
So
also, all the rookies will be gone by your second pick.
Well, not Torrey Horton though.
Maybe not.
So he's 6'3", 196. He's a 90th percentile size guy, 4.41 speed. Looks the part, at least so far. And you have like the situation there where you've lost some stalwarts in the receiving game. Tyler Lockett no longer a part of this offense. DK Metcalf is gone. We talk about that every time we talk about JSN, but we don't talk about it necessarily in the context of somebody else stepping up, opportunities. Even Noah Fant is gone, right? We're figuring out the A.J. Barner and Arroyo thing. So I think there's some opportunities. You look like a man that's like ready to push a button.
Well, we just talked about him on the Dynasty Nasty Boys episode.
Oh, yes.
And
Torrey Horton?
Yeah, Torrey Horton.
Oh, okay. I should subscribe to that.
Yeah, you should listen. Great show. but is one of those things. Mike's brought this up a lot, where it's like JSN is a slot player, Cooper Kupp is a slot player. They're not sure how it's going to work out.
Does Cooper Kupp even still have it?
Right. So all of a sudden, you've got this guy, Torrey Horton, their rookie drafted by this regime, that he's an outside guy, and he's pretty much got that role locked up. So it's pretty cool to see.
He's gonna do his best and forget the rest.
That's there it is. That was Undrafted Gems, sponsored by Walmart. Who knew that you could get what you need in as fast as an hour? Get free delivery on your first express delivery order with the code EXPRESS. Valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum. Subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
News and notes from around the league, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Well,
the Reaper doing work.
Look. The reason Jason said that. Look, Jordan Love is going to undergo a procedure on his left thumb to address a torn ligament. He's expected to be ready for Week 1.
Surgery today.
So this now combined with the news that Jaden Reed may or may not be available for Week 1. Jordan Love last year dealt with injuries the whole season, and it restricted.
It is his non-throwing thumb, just to make sure people won't know.
Yeah, and it's not his legs, which he says he wants to use more this year. But it's not great. You just don't really want to see injuries like this happen. You want to get off to a hot start. Jordan Love has been one of my favorite values in the draft. It's not necessarily, fully changing that, but it's just, you want to get off to a hot start, and you don't want to be recovering from surgery as you go into game 1.
We have our injury guy, Matthew Betts. He says he's not concerned Matthew was saying you might see more handoffs to the left side of the line in the first 2 games, but overall, not worried.
Yep.
So, but I agree. You don't love hearing that as we're entering real draft season.
Yeah, a reminder, the Packers' schedule is one of the reasons why I loved Jordan Love. They're favored in the first 8 games. I think that team is very, very good. I believe 2 of us picked them to win the division.
Yep.
I know I was one of them.
You think I remember that?
That was over 15,000 shows ago.
Yeah.
But, now Jaden Reed banged up, Christian Watson, he's going to probably start the season on the PUP list.
No surprise there.
No, that one was expected. ACL injury, additional damage. All right, here's somewhat potentially significant news.
We need some boots on the ground here.
Malik Neighbors still not practicing, did not practice on Tuesday. He hasn't practiced, I believe, since the 6th, when he came off the field and said this is part of the plan. And the plan...
Oh, he's resting.
He's one of those.
He's fine.
It turns out a lot of NFL teams this year, they are planning to not have their players play. Their plan is to have players not practice.
So if you come out of your draft and let's say you've got Matthew Stafford and Malik Neighbors and Kenneth Walker, are these all? Are you happy?
You should plan. You're my plan is to have no one Week 1. No, I'm planning for this. So
can you rest
okay.
them in fantasy? Does that help them?
Right. Yeah. Rest up. I need you in Week 2.
I get double points next week.
I was going to say that'd be a funny format. Is if you sit a guy, you get points and a half the next week. But Malik Neighbors, this is a shoulder injury is what's being announced, and that is not the toe is what he's been managing since college. So this is something we need to follow up on, but we want to surface it right now. It's Malik Neighbors is a high draft capital pick. You got to spend a first-round pick to get Malik Neighbors in a lot of leagues, maybe second round.
And I'm still good with my recommendation, Mr. Neighbors, of just pop that toe off. I would not duplicate that.
Can't pop the shoulder
for your arm.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Sean McDermott telling reporters he's confident James Cook will practice today, and he did, and that things have changed. It said that they had some discussions and conversations around the contract, so now he's back out there practicing. The yo-yo offseason of James Cook continues.
Does that insinuate that he's about to have a contract come through?
I don't know if I'd go
or
that
they
far.
Said you will not get a contract, and he said, "Oh."
Or we'll work.
Who knows?
We'll work really hard. We'll continue to work hard, but we need you on the field. That's part of the equation getting ready for the season. I don't know. I'm not there. And James Cook, he's playing by some new rules. He could walk off. He could be walking off the practice field right now.
Yeah.
And we would not know. And that could be his thing. You thought I was practicing.
I do half practice.
Yeah. You pay me half of what I deserve. I do half practice. The 49ers.
Goodness gracious.
Brandon Ayuk, on track to be back around week 6. That is a long time from now.
That's why he's been off our board pretty much the whole offseason. We knew that this was an injury. He was going to start on the PUP.
Which also, let me just throw this out there. Another player that we said, hey, maybe they'll get back for week 1 that doesn't look like they'll be back for a while. Darnell Mooney of the Falcons.
Yeah.
He's also in this camp now
really
where it's
escalated.
Didn't they say we hope to have him this season?
Yeah, and the most recent comment was like, yeah, he should be back at some point this season.
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Whoa. Where did back it up?
That escalated quickly.
But what I was getting to, Jordan Watkins, another wide receiver, a rookie for the 49ers, is now out a month with a high ankle sprain. They currently have Ricky Pearsall back, who was hurt. Juwan Jennings is hurt. Ayuk is hurt. Demarcus Robinson played in the preseason game. He
should be suspended.
He could have a big role, but he's probably going to get suspended. Jacob Cowing, hamstring. Watkins now, high ankle sprain. But that doesn't even speak of the running back room, where they've lost Garindo and Jordan James, and now Amir Abdullah's on injured reserve.
Oh, my gosh, Abdullah.
He barely.
What are you
It's like
doing
he walked
in
off
San
the plane
Francisco?
and tripped down the thing off the plane, like the stairs.
You guys remember an old Marty Short movie, Pure Luck?
No, we don't.
No.
Mike. No, we don't.
Okay. Well, everyone at home, just enjoy how good that reference was.
Maybe not
They
everyone.
don't remember.
Maybe not everyone.
Maybe just
But
Papa
if-
Josh. I'm sure you remember that old
This is
flick.
when we were kids. Kyle knows it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Goodness
There you
gracious,
go. You got
guys.
one, Mike.
Come on, he gets stung by the bee and he starts swelling.
Is the principle of this that just bad things keep happening to him?
Yes.
Okay.
He has
Wait,
unbelievable.
what was the name of that?
Pure Luck?
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
You do.
Oh, darn.
I will.
It was the bee. The bee sting reminded me. Okay.
I'll wait for my apology.
That was
Well, it
the
does feel
beginning
like-
of Glick.
Yes.
Jiminy Glick. The 49ers, the offseason, the injuries, it's just year after year after year we go through this.
Listen, Christian and George, stay in a bubble. Okay, you're the two
Yes.
most important fantasy assets there in San Francisco.
And
You
both
don't
have-
even hang around
I was
people.
going to say both have been hurt before quite a bit, so it's like maybe practice somewhere else. Matthew Stafford, the latest word there, Sean McVay saying the team will be, quote, flexible and fluid when dealing with him recovering from his back injury. That's kind of how we are with the deucers when they have to leave in the middle of the show for bathroom breaks.
Right.
Right.
We're flexible. They're fluid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Defluiding.
He was supposed to practice on Monday, but ended up being out.
Look, it's all going to plan.
It's the plan.
plan.
The plan is that we're flexible.
The theme of 2025
It really is.
It's
like
the plan.
instead of, it's all glass half full.
Dude, I have a plan for about 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. today, guys. I'm going to take a nap.
Okay. Yeah, that's resting, you and Kenneth. That was News and Notes, sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. We'll take a break. We'll hit the countdown.
Running backs.
All right, it is time for our countdown, the top 10 running backs by consensus rankings. We're looking at half PPR rankings. A reminder, all of our tiers and tier-based rankings are in the Ultimate Draft Kit along with customizable scoring, so you can import your league, printable cheat sheets that are compatible with your league. And again, that's on mobile. There's the new Value Scout tool, the Draft Analyzer, a lot of resources. You can learn about that at ultimatedraftkit.com. Let's begin.
Number 10.
Well, he's healthy right now. Josh Jacobs, 27 years old, dominant season last year in Green Bay. I've got him at 8, Jason at 12, Mike at 11, comes in at 10 in our consensus, being drafted as the running back 9 right now, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I mean, this is a guy who finished as the running back 5 last year, and if you look at how the season went along, there was a point last year after, a quarter, a third of the season was in where we were talking about Josh Jacobs not getting touchdowns. It's hard to even remember, he was due for touchdowns because then they figured it out and he got a touchdown every single week. He was so consistent, so dominant. It's part of the reason why I've been kind of down on Andrew Luck. I've been kind of down on Jordan Love. A little bit, just because what they did around the goal line was so effective with Josh Jacobs towards the end of last year. if that were to continue, if that was the plan, they just figured out how to utilize his skill set and their offensive line scheme around the goal line where it was pretty much unstoppable. If that continued, Josh Jacobs would be a great pick. I don't have any problem. Like I've got him a few spots below where his ADP is ranking wise, but he can absolutely, like, I don't see him being drafted at his ceiling at running back.
Well,
9.
the 3 check boxes yesterday, right? Touchdowns, workhorse role, winning team. Those all are there for Josh Jacobs. The 4th most carries last year, 4th most red zone touches, led the NFL, 14 rushing touchdowns inside the 10. So they went to him, like you said. And I think it's almost interesting that you kind of brought up the Fat Thor for a second. But if you look at what his resume is, that season where he played 13 games and it was a disaster for Las Vegas and he left the team, that was very much the outlier of his career. Like, and the offseason demand for Josh Jacobs and free agency showed that teams recognized that this just wasn't what Josh Jacobs was all about. You go back the year before, he was the running back 3, and in Las Vegas, that team was not checking all the boxes.
Magic season.
Yeah, I mean, it was 17.8 fantasy points a game. But last year, back up to 16.2, his second highest of his career. 2 of the last 3 years, he's been just a fantasy force. So we know that potential. I don't feel like he's not James Cook in the touchdown regression fears, because James Cook's workload is so much less. And there's so much more like history of not scoring in Buffalo and the 3-headed monster there.
Yeah, they have other options. The 4th checkbox for me, if there was a 4th, which there isn't.
We can add as many checkboxes as you want.
Okay, then the 4th checkbox is to have injury-prone, worthless backs behind you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no competition. Like, my worry about Josh Jacobs last year was that this is a system that has always been, a timeshare, a committee situation, and, they've talked about that. Like, that's their preference. But you can't do that if you don't have the personnel. They can't go into the season and have a 50-50 time split here. They don't have the other running backs. Marshawn Lloyd is made of the same stuff that Kendre Miller is made of. It's like Laffy Taffy. You just can't stay healthy. And so Josh Jacobs is going to be a workhorse back for a good offense.
Yeah, coming into the offseason, all my concerns were, does Marshawn Lloyd show why he was a 3rd-round pick? Does it swing back for Green Bay, where in 2023, 24% of their touchdowns were rushing touchdowns, and then that jumped all the way up to 45 this past year. So it was like seeing what LaFleur has done with Jordan Love. They like to throw. They like when they're getting in closer. But now you have the Jordan Love injury to start. Marshawn Lloyd is hurt. They just signed, I don't know if you guys saw, Tyrion Davis-Price, a name from the past,
yes,
from the relics of the San Francisco draft era. So, like,
Lord Tyrion.
Yeah, they've added another running back because they're probably concerned about Lloyd. So I've gotten to the point where I'm with Jason. If I'm slightly behind the ADP, but I don't mind Josh Jacobs as my RB1.
Just said it with Jordan Love. Like, they're favored in their first 8 games of the season. Projected win total of 9.5. And a lot of the times I worry about backup running backs making an impact to win. There's a reason for the team to go away from what happened last year. He played 17 games. He could handle the workload. He had 344 opportunities, which was 60 fewer than he had in Las Vegas when he played 17. So one of the true workhorses, over 1,300 yards on the ground. It was pretty incredible from week 5 on for them once they figured it out. And again, it was a little slower start. You say they figured it out. Part of that is just you're a brand new member of a brand new team.
And part of it was the Jordan Love injuries from last year. He got hurt in week 1, and then he sustained an injury a few weeks later that he played through, but it definitely affected how they were choosing to do things.
All right, moving on.
Number 9.
Chase Brown. Chase Brown comes in at number 9. I got him at 12. You guys both have him at 8. I think we're all excited for Chase Brown and the potential in that offense. You saw it last year. It was on display. This was a player that leveled up from a talent perspective. We went into the season thinking, well, they invested in Zach Moss, who had played well in Indianapolis.
The team went into it thinking that Zach Moss was the guy for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, snap counts for Chase Brown, 33%, 20%, 24%. Those first 3 weeks, just 3, 4, and 7 attempts on the ground. He is not he's not a prototypical, like, between the tackles workhorse.
He's an Austin Eckler.
He absolutely is. He's capable between the tackles, but he can also be utilized. Like, he can have a game where he gets 10 or 11 carries, but still gives you a really nice fantasy day because of utilization in the passing game.
What's crazy is he wasn't getting 10 or 11 carries when he became their starter. He was getting 17.7 carries a game. That's a 300 carry pace his last 7 games played, basically when Zach Moss went down.
Mm-hmm.
So Zach Moss goes down. This team got off to a slow start. They lost a ton of games, and they tried to fix it and make the playoffs. Remember, they went on a great run towards the end of the season, won a bunch of games. Chase Brown was a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened, you have Chase Brown on pace for 94 targets, for over 1,200 rushing yards, over 600 receiving yards, a true dual threat back.
I care more about those
games.
The targets.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is absolutely outrageous, and that's what I am going to project for the Cincinnati Bengals moving forward. Yes, Samaje Perine will take some snaps away from Chase Brown, but like
they do not want him at 85% snaps. That's an insane number. That was, remember they added Khalil Herbert at the end of the year, and they'd already lost Moss, and they lost backup players like, I don't know, was it Kyron that ended up having those kind of snap counts for like 3 or 4 years ago?
Massive, both last year and the year before.
Like,
Kyron's had
you don't generally see
work.
snap counts in the 90s.
No, that was Kyron. It was basically Kyron, Christian McCaffrey.
So to your point about like taking some snaps here and there, that makes sense.
But
this is their guy.
You will get games of you would expect 3 to 4 targets as your floor for him, and then you have ceiling games where it just works out that this is how the Bengals are going to attack the defense, and Chase Brown is going to have 8 or 9 receptions, and he just
There's a fourth checkbox here.
What's that?
Fourth checkbox. Samaje Perine is the main backup.
Yeah,
Samaje Perine 5 years ago
some carries,
and when they get close to the goal line, they just keep throwing. So give me the receiving back.
Yeah, and let's hope that. I mean, this. To be fair, the only thing in the back of my head, tucked away, hidden, is they constantly gave Samaje Perine work when Joe Mixon was supposed to be on the field in their playoff run. But this is 2 years, 3 years removed. They've got to be smart about it, but we expect that.
Joe Mixon is one of the things that gives me even more faith in Chase Brown. Joe Mixon was their guy. I mean, for years and years and years, it didn't matter how
inefficient.
Was Joe Mixon having a great game? Was Joe Mixon having one of his stinkers of a game? It didn't matter. They still kept going to him.
How early is too early to draft him if you're in love with Chase Brown? He's the RB12 off the board. You guys have him at 8.
What I love is that his ADP is in the 3rd. That is spectacular. I would take him in the 2nd.
Okay.
Keep it in the 3rd, people.
Yeah.
Mock draft season.
Yeah.
Don't pull the trigger on Chase Brown. Draft season.
Manipulate the market.
Yeah. We're not managed by the,
You should have sent Travion Henderson a note to, keep it under control in the preseason because he's hurting the ADP a little bit.
Yeah, he really is.
All right. This is a big name to talk about.
Number 8.
Bucky Irving comes in at number 8. We all have him slightly below ADP.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit. I love Tampa Bay. I love the offense. I love Baker. I love the stability. I love the fact that you have a system that has worked to produce big numbers year after year. And I absolutely was blown away on a weekly basis by what Bucky Irving was doing out there on the field. He was the RB7 from week 10 on when his takeover really came to fruition. Rachaad White's got the groin injury right now. Sean Tucker's talented. I don't know what kind of work he's really going to get because they've been talking about Sean Tucker being talented for 3 years. But, you look at the 46 running backs with 100-plus carries on the season. He was 5th in yards per carry, 7th in explosive rush rate, 7th among all running backs in rush success rate, 3rd in forced missed tackles per attempt. There is a world, and it's not one we're predicting by putting him at 8, but there's a world where Bucky Irving is, you get 6, 7, 8 weeks into the season, and we're like, he's sitting at RB3.
Yeah,
it could.
And you're like, man, that is that dude.
The talent he showed on film last year absolutely says he could do that if he gets the workload and if he can handle the workload. Now, there's 3 good backs here right now. Rachaad White is a little injured, so maybe you get off to a hotter start to begin the year and give Bucky a huge workload. I think that Bucky is good enough to be a LaShawn McCoy type of player where he could be a fantasy, game wrecker on as a smaller back with high volume. But there's always the worry I have in the back of my mind is a 195-pound back. You know, he had a game where he had 28 opportunities and dominated. He was the running back one. He had 152 yards, 6.1 yards a carry. He was awesome. And he didn't miss the next game, but
he left that game looked like he was prepping for a sarcophagus.
He was mummied up. He was full wrapped. And then the next game he plays 16% of snaps, gets 5 total opportunities, because he took too much damage for a 195-pound back.
Which I think he spent a lot of the offseason has been a focal point is getting stronger, getting the body capable of handling that kind of a workload. He wants to be that guy. What would you put your odds that he finishes as the top 5 back? He's being drafted as the 8th back off the board. Give me a percentage chance.
Top 5?
Top 5. I'll go. I feel like it's 15%.
Yeah, I'm more like in the 30.
I was going to go about 20, 25.
Okay.
When we look at the 3 check boxes of, are you a workhorse? Do you get the touchdowns? Are you on a winning team? Like, the team is good. We're not sure if he's a true workhorse back here, if the volume will truly be there with 3 other backs.
But
and then will he be the touchdown machine?
He averaged 3 targets a game, and that was, it even with a slower start. The fact that he was a 4th-round running back who's the incumbent took like every snap. I mean, Rashad White's superpower when he was good for fantasy was he just was there all the time. For a 4th-rounder to steal the job, not from an injury to Rashad White, just because Bucky was so much better. That speaks
Where did
highly.
Rashad White end up finishing last year? Was it like 18 or something?
White was still very relevant because he
24
because he catches so much passes. So I mean, you had Bucky at just over 3 targets a game, and then you have Rashad White at 3.6 targets a game.
Yep. Yeah. So Bucky Irving at 8.
Number 7.
Devon Achane. Devon Achane comes in at number 7. This is a very unique analysis situation to me. He was the RB7 last year. It was impressive. He could handle the workload. He didn't, injuries were a concern in the rookie season when he was so explosive but then missed time. He's 23 years old. We all have him right where he's being drafted, almost on the dot. Jason 1 spot higher. The pass catching work is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
The targets are worth a lot more than the carries. And, this was the number 1 running back reception leader in the game. The running back room is thinning out. I mean, Alexander Madison, who was making waves in camp, now out for the season. Jalen Wright, not sure that he's going to be trustworthy enough. He certainly wasn't last year. And then Ollie Gordon, this is a rookie. So it's definitely all on.
Was Ollie Gordon 7th round?
Yeah, he fell. Maybe 6th. But Devon Achane has.
You're right.
He has the workload. I don't know how good this team will end up. With the offensive line situation.
I don't think that matters.
Yeah,
man.
my chips are all in.
I don't think it matters if the Dolphins are good or not, because where Devon Achane thrives is the passing game. What matters is if Tua is there.
Yes.
When Tua is gone, so is Devon Achane. That's the risk. That's the worry. If you look at the splits with and without Tua, when Tua is gone, we kind of explained this when he went down, like, the whole defense is like, okay, now I'm stacking the line, and you're not dumping it off to Devon Achane. He basically disappeared 7.7 fantasy points per game in those games without Tua. But when Tua was there, 6.5 targets per game, 19.5 fantasy points per game. For context, Derrick Henry last year was 19.2. He had 700 rushing touchdowns. So this is a player who, in my opinion, in my strategy, if I'm there where he's being drafted and he's on the, he's available, I'm grabbing him.
Yep.
I believe he has the potential to be top 3 running back. He will have the workload. There isn't a depth chart here with Alexander Madison getting that season-ending injury, the Ollie Gordon and the Jalen Wright. Like, I'm not worried about them. He's going to have extreme volume.
Tyreek Hill says you should be.
Well, Tyreek Hill says you should be worried around the goal line, but the pass catching work with Jonnu Smith gone, in that area of the field who already had I think he had 100 targets. This guy's just going to get nonstop wide receiver PPR numbers.
Yeah, they tried Jalen Wright 4 times on the goal line in preseason week 1, and that didn't work. So they may need to either throw it around there and let Achane stay in the game on the field, or
it's wild though, of just the risk of it not being just does Achane get hurt, but like Tua getting hurt. You look at Josh Jacobs. You have Jordan Love go out. Yeah, of course, the offense doesn't work as well, but Josh Jacobs is going to have so much work. Like we're going to counterbalance the efficiency of the offense with volume. With Achane, if Tua goes out, then it's just you are sad.
It just shows. I mean, he had 3 rushing touchdowns on 15 attempts inside the 5. So it straight up did not work.
Not effective.
It did not work. I mean,
I don't think it would work with a different back though. That offensive line is
correct.
So bad.
Well, I mean, maybe a slightly more talented, bigger back it would work, but the line is terrible. I'm just saying, like, if they had if he had succeeded inside the 5, it's not like the opportunities weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a player that would have finished higher than RB7 last year. You talk about the points per game numbers. He would be the complete package if you could get inside the end zone when they have those goal line opportunities. But he feels very, very safe this year.
Number 6.
All right, it's preseason bust. Ashton Jeanty.
Negative.
He's a turd.
21 years old. I've got him at 4, Mike at 5, Jason at 7. His ADP is 5, and so our consensus rank is 6. You saw him briefly in the first week, and, you're going to see a lot more of him over the course of the season. First-round running backs, traditionally, they dominate, they crush for fantasy football. I think as the season gets started, I do think you're going to see Raheem Mostert on third down quite often. That seems to be the plan right now for the Raiders, but do you see Jeanty as any sort of like bust risk at all?
Yeah. I mean, so he's certainly a bust risk because we've never seen him on the field of in NFL games. He played for a college program that was he's not in the SEC. He's not facing the extreme awesome talent, but he is drafted where he was in the NFL for a reason. I don't think he will fail as an NFL player at all. At all. He is as locked as you can be at the running back position. But for fantasy purposes, where he's being drafted, you talk about those 3 check boxes. Is he going to be a workhorse? Absolutely. He'll have the workload. That is a guarantee for where they drafted him and with what the depth chart says. Will he have the touchdown opportunities? I don't know if this offense in a tough division, they're currently slated for 6.5 wins in Vegas.
Yeah, they're underdogs, by the way, for the 6 of the first 7 weeks.
So, he doesn't check all the boxes, and you haven't seen it yet. The reason he's this high is because as a prospect, what you're hoping for is one of those generational players who can finish as the running back 1 simply because he is that good. You're betting on the talent. That the opportunity will be there, but the team is what scares me.
Yeah, they were the worst running game in the NFL last year, which, not surprising when you look at what they had in the backfield, combined with the offensive line play, and the quarterback play and all the play of all the players. But you're looking at rejuvenation here in Las Vegas, and you're going to need them to put it together on a weekly basis. But I think that's the plan. I think the plan is to give them every opportunity to be exactly what you'd want in fantasy.
Yeah, you hope that with Chip Kelly and this team wants to run the ball and have a fast pace of play. So there's some good things here, but the bad things, you look at Josh Jacobs, who clearly still has it. Last time we saw him with the Raiders, with that offensive line 2 years ago, he was not good. He was inefficient. Last year, 32nd best team at running the ball.
Jahmyr White.
Right. But, but my point is Josh Jacobs is really good, and he sucked there. So I don't know that this offensive line and that the system is really improved enough.
3 new starters, and like I said, they're going to start off, you go to New England in week 1, you're going to play against the Chargers in week 2, Washington in week 3, Chicago week 4, on the road again in week 5. I do think it might be a little bit, now he could prove me wrong, he can go out and have 2 60-yard touchdowns in week 1, but it might start a little slow. Like I said, working in Raheem Mostert a little bit and the matchups to begin the year, I think we'll get there for Jeanty.
I love Jeanty. I mean, I've got him at 7. But when I look at the draft and how it goes, I feel like where Jeanty's going in the first round, if you were to take a wide receiver there, one of the elite studs at wide receiver, and then you just on, later in the second, you get Achane or you get Josh Jacobs, I don't know that you're really sacrificing much.
No, that's a good point, and that's the decision-making you're going to have to make in your drafts. I will say this. What's stopping that is people – it's fun to draft Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah,
that's part of it. The emotional
excitement that you might have the next greatest of all time.
Might be a yacht.
Right. No, it's true. All right, we'll take a break, and we'll get into the top 5. Foot Clan, draft day is on the way. You got your rankings. You got those sleepers. You got your can't-miss picks. But you know what? You need sometimes a backup because, well, even the best fantasy football team in the world doesn't go according to plan. Sometimes those starters, they don't show up. Wouldn't it be great if you could have the same peace of mind everywhere else? With Progressive, you get more than just a policy. You get a playbook full of coverage options you can count on for your home and for your auto. Want to customize your protection? No problem. You can build your coverage just like your fantasy team, making sure that you have the right players in every position and a backup when you need it most. And when life throws an audible like a fumble in the driveway or a hailstorm at home, Progressive is there with 24/7 support. Don't get caught without a great backup. Visit Progressive.com to quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Back into the running back rankings we go.
Number 5.
Derrick Henry, back again.
Long live the king.
Long live the king. You're talking about the number 2 running back in fantasy last year. Just ho-hum, 19.2 fantasy points a game. He is he's the player that if you doubt him, you pay the price. That has been the story for 3 years now of, 3 years of doubt because he had the injury in 2021, missed 8 games. The shoe finally dropped, right? It was like, oh boy, this is the end. He follows that up, basically playing every game in the last 3 seasons and finishing top 8 for 3 straight seasons.
And now is on a way better offense with a better offensive line than he ever
so much
remembered
like
in Tennessee. Yeah, this is the age is the only concern, and I'm not concerned. Some people are not some people. Some person is built differently, and it's Derrick Henry. He's not a regular human being.
No, he's not. I think it's fair to be slightly concerned about the age, but that will not stop me from drafting Derrick Henry. Do you guys remember after week 1 where it was the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, Derrick Henry's debut, he only gets 13 carries.
Yeah.
He runs for 3.5 yards. He got the touchdown, so he saved the fantasy day. And then after that was the presser with Harbaugh. Like, we didn't bring Derrick Henry in here to just give him a bajillion carries. And I don't know if he was playing some media rope-a-dope with his week 2 matchup, because then from then on out, you have like so many games of 20-plus carries.
It was the highest. Like, you could argue it was his most consistent season ever. He only had 6% bust games and 81% good.
How many great teams has Derrick Henry been a part of?
What do you mean?
As in, like when he was on Tennessee, how many years of were
they
you
a
like
top-notch
team?
Were
you like the Titans?
0.
The Titans were great that
0.
year.
I mean,
I don't know if it was 0.
Never a Super Bowl contender.
I think they had a couple.
They may have it. My
pretty
point,
solid years.
But the point being, you put Derrick Henry, even at this age, on a team that's
the number 1 seed
that is gonna win. Well,
Wait, they were a number 1 seed, the Titans?
Well, they won the division a bunch of times. Maybe not number 1 in the whole conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my point being, that was probably, if I had to look at and just guess, I'm going to guess like 2019 or 2020. I'm going to guess 2020, just based off of when they were good. Look, the point is, Baltimore is great. They will be leading far more than they will be trailing. And when they're leading, it will be Derrick Henry salting the game away and scoring so many rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, then Kyle said they were the number 1 seed overall.
That was
at least once.
I remember one year where he was in the MVP race as a running back, so it must have been that season. But yeah, he's that dude.
Yeah, Vrabel got him going a little bit. They were 12-5 in 2021. Yeah, look, this is just a perfect match. Baltimore,
2020, told you.
Baltimore, Derrick Henry, perfect match. Baltimore's in the running to be a Super Bowl champ, 11.5 wins, favored in most of their games, so very exciting. And, Keaton Mitchell, they need people to spell Derrick Henry here and there, but it's not going to impact where we rank him.
Number 4.
Jahmyr Gibbs, 23 years old, entering the prime time. Jahmyr Gibbs last year, number 3 overall. I've got him at 3, Mike at 4, Jason at 5. He is the most fun player to watch get an opportunity in fantasy, in my opinion, because they can all go to the house. He was number 1 in explosive rush rate. 10% of his carries were 15-plus yards. So 10% of the time, I thought he was going to score.
I had no Gibbs. I had no shares of Gibbs last year. Just, it was unfortunate. That's how the chips fell. And whenever I was playing against Gibbs, it was a terrible
it's
time.
A nightmare.
You're watching the Lions game, and every time he touches the ball, I'm just watching through fingers like there's a horror film on. Like, no, don't let him touch it.
So many, they barely clipped his foot. Because if that defender didn't get that one tiny clip, he's gone for 50 yards.
Yeah, I think the story with Gibbs, we've talked about it a lot, so I doubt we need to focus on it too much. But it's just, how much work does Monty get?
Yep, that's everything for Jahmyr Gibbs.
And is there any step back offensive line wise with the departure of Frank Ragnow? They're all-pro center, and they lost an offensive guard. Do they put it together without Ben Johnson? I don't have any doubt that Jahmyr Gibbs can make something out of nothing on any play. It's just a matter of your confidence level in those factors.
I think when you're talking about the best of the best backs in the league, of which Jahmyr Gibbs clearly is, what you really want to look at is how does it go wrong? Injury for any running back, take that out. Does the offense take a significant step back without their offensive coordinator and their, all-world center? I think that could happen this year. That's my fear for Gibbs. But if that happens and he then ends up at the same time as the Lions take a step backwards, if that forces Gibbs to get more work over David Montgomery because they're like, hey, this isn't working, we've got to put our best player out there, it'll probably kind of stay the same. I do think for Gibbs to truly match this draft cost, he's basically drafted as the second or third running back usually. I feel like David Montgomery has to get close to vanishing. If David Montgomery goes out there and gets 10 touchdowns and plays the majority of the season, Gibbs is not going to hurt you at all, but he's not going to be that number 1, number 2 running back.
10 touchdowns would be a problem. But if Monty becomes the Algier in the situation for Bijan, then I'm more excited.
Gibbs averaged 3.7 targets per game, and that includes 2 weeks of 0 targets. Like, he's an absolute – it's like Achane. He's just an animal when it comes to receptions.
Absolutely.
Number 3.
Well, this guy's at 3. I didn't realize where he ended up, but it's
perfect.
It's because that's where Jason has him at 3. Mike's got him at 1. I've got him at 6. It's Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey.
I don't like talking about Christian McCaffrey. It's not fun.
We've done it a lot. We've done it a whole lot. This is a team projected to win a lot of games, favored in their first 4 matchups. We know the story of McCaffrey. He was league winner for 2 years, league loser for 3 of the last 5 seasons. It's a tall task to ask a player that has been injured frequently to play 17 and give you 300-plus opportunities. If he plays 17 and you get less than that amount of opportunities, I don't think he's worth the number 3 pick. If he is healthy and they give him all those opportunities, he will be the number 1 running back in football. So that's your equation. It's a risk-reward situation. The rhetoric is Mike's very much playing to win. He says, don't play scared. I think you have alternates to also win in this draft cost, so I don't take that approach. but he is the player that if he plays 17 and gets over 300 carries or 300 opportunities, he will probably be the number one running back.
You do not need Christian McCaffrey to win a fantasy championship. You can win it plenty of other ways. If you don't want to deal with what we have dealt with 3 of the last 5 years in his injury, don't. And I wouldn't even say that you're playing scared. You could say you're playing wise because you don't need him to win. However, if he plays, last time he played 2 years ago, he wasn't good. He was in 47% of championship games. It was just super easy to get a championship if you had Christian McCaffrey. So he's like a cheat code sometimes. So it feels less like playing scared and more like gambling. Like I'm playing the lotto, and I got some pretty good odds. Like if the lottery, if you could go out there and get a scratcher ticket, and you had a 33% chance of winning, I mean, okay.
Look, if McCaffrey was if he stayed late second, I mean, he obviously would be a home run because I'd already have another running back on my roster that I could lean on. Mike is as bullish as one can be for
Mike's
Christian
ensuring
McCaffrey.
He gets picked in the first round in every league.
It's that of like if he's healthy, he's multiple points better than the running back too.
Did you care about any of the games last year coming back from the Achilles and not giving you the fantasy numbers that you would have hoped for? Because there were 4 games, I think, or 3.5 before the Buffalo injury.
It was definitely a slower start, and then in the Buffalo game when he finally got knocked out for the season, it was like, oh, there he is. There's Christian. It is the insane Saquon Barkley year of last year. 2,000 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns, a bunch of receptions. Christian McCaffrey in just 2 years ago was a full point per game better than Saquon Barkley was last year. And like people are like the Barkley season. Like, don't forget what Christian McCaffrey can do. The schedule for San Francisco is very favorable.
They're projected to win 10.5 games. They're favored in 15 of 17 games, and their running back schedule is one of the easiest.
So it's the injury. If you want to bet that he's going to get hurt, then don't draft him.
Dude, if I can get him at the turn, if I can get him at 201, 202,
I think there will be home leagues out there where it does happen.
I don't think so, man. I think every time push comes to shove,
it will happen.
Push comes to shove, someone's going to be like, I don't know, taking that.
No, because there's a lot of someones, at least 3 in the last 5 years, that have been burned. So you might have 3 people.
Not true. In our league, it's all the same man. One guy 3 times.
That is the irony of the thing,
Yeah, Mike should be the one stopping.
Yeah,
no, because they're running backs. They all get hurt.
He's getting a tattoo this afternoon. He likes pain.
Hey, remember when Frank Gore was injury prone? Remember when Matt Forte was injury prone?
Yeah, but
those
dude,
don't
come
count,
on,
man.
Those don't count.
They don't count because they're not doing what Christian McCaffrey's doing, which is every other year for his whole career.
These are league losing seasons. These are break your team in half. Those are not like
Frank Gore was injury prone for a couple years and then went on a
not while he was the number 1 pick in the fantasy like 3 times.
I get both sides. I'm going to draft him.
All right.
Number 2.
Saquon Barkley, it was a magical year. The question for fantasy players.
Remember when Saquon Barkley was injury prone?
That's way more fair. That is actually feels because he was the number 1 pick in drafts and then didn't play.
Three devastating injuries in a row.
He had missed most of 2020, and then he missed 3 games in 2021.
But he was really bad in 2021 because he kept getting hurt.
Okay. Yeah. Last year, 21.2 fantasy points per game. We have him at number 2. None of us have him in the number 1 slot.
That slot belongs to Mr. Indestructible.
He just won you your league. He should do very similar things in Philadelphia, but also that was, he was not at that level in any recent history. So you got to put, the big plays, the 60-plus yard touchdowns, that type of stuff. That's hard to bet on. But 66%
He's the one you bet on it, though.
66% of his rushing yards came before contact. If you remember Kenneth Walker yesterday, 71% of his came after contact.
Yeah,
that is called. This is
it's
why
called not fair.
That's why DeAndre Swift looked very good in Philadelphia. You got an offensive line ranked number 1. They are dealing with a little bit of injury concern right now with Dickerson.
They got great news though. Landon Dickerson looked like he was going to miss the season, and now he's hopeful for week 1. So he'll be playing the majority of the season.
So we're at the point in the countdown where you're just splitting hairs over players. I think you can take Saquon number 1 if you want to.
Sure.
That's fine. It's going to be great.
Yeah, he belongs in the conversation if he stays healthy. I mean, this is coming off of 417 opportunities. That is a lot of workload on the body. It's ironic because Christian McCaffrey, we always want to say whatever happens last year happens next year, but it's almost the opposite in reality. Wide receiver 1 almost never finishes as the wide receiver 1 the next year, and you can't just predict that, but a lot of these guys, when they come off of a hefty workload season, they struggle with injuries the next year. It's ironic that Christian McCaffrey's coming off a very low, workload season.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't have McCaffrey locked in at number 1 is because the season he had the year before he got hurt and hurt you, was also an outlier season in terms of overall performance. Like I think it's going to regulate a little bit, and so I have him buried at 6.
You can't other than worrying about Saquon's workload being bad from last year, there's nothing to criticize. The passing volume is the criticizing point, like, oh, he didn't catch many passes, and that's moot. Because the reason he didn't catch many passes is because he scored so many first-half touchdowns that they didn't throw the ball. If he's not scoring a bunch of touchdowns in the first half, they'll throw the ball more, and he'll catch more. So he's just awesome. I worry about the age workload.
Number 1.
You don't worry about the age of Bijan Robinson, who comes in at number 1 overall for our consensus rankings. Number 2 for Mike. Was RB4 last year. He had the highest success rate ever for a running back with 250-plus carries. He is game script proof. He can catch the football. I would love to see more big plays from Bijan.
Yes.
That is something that we didn't get a lot of. That was why Saquon was so much more exciting and more fun. And Gibbs, for that matter.
Yeah.
Saquon and Gibbs were much more fun in terms of, the big plays, the winning weeks. I think Saquon had, 30-plus fantasy points. How many times did he do that? He had it 5 times, 30-plus fantasy points. So, look, it's cool to finish number 1 on the week. It's cooler to score 30-plus and win your entire week for your fantasy team. But Bijan, with the age, the dependency on him, the fact that, no matter what this team does, he's involved.
Yeah, it looks like he had one carry over 30 yards.
Are they underdogs in their first 6 weeks? Is that right?
Yeah, not favored in a game until week 8 because of week 5 bye. So yeah, you're correct there. He might not have it.
He might not have one of the check boxes.
He might not have one of the check boxes.
Yeah.
Number 1 draft pick. I will say this: Bijan finishing as the running back 1, where we have him ranked, feels like a slightly lower percentage than some of these other guys we've just talked about. But Bijan finishing at, running back 8 or 10, having a bad season feels so minuscule compared to all these other people that we've talked about. So he is really he's a floor play that is so safe to me. He still is going to be awesome. He's going to be a top 5 running back, but he might not be on a great team, and that might hinder his total touchdown opportunities. But every single time he touches the ball, he creates yards that other players wouldn't. They give him the ball so much. If they're down, they'll throw it to him.
He's 4+ targets a game.
Yeah, there's no worry and no risk. The alternate side does exist, though. If Michael Penix comes out and is that dude, and all of a sudden they go out and win 12 games, Bijan's probably the running back 1.
Yeah, I just looked. I'm looking at my projections, and you're always splitting hairs at the top, but sometimes there's a gap, right? That's why we have tier-based ranking. I don't have a gap. I don't have a gap between Bijan, Saquon, and Gibbs. Like, I took a half a touchdown. I just did this for experimental sake. I took half a touchdown away from my projection for Bijan Robinson because I had him at 11.5. When I drop him to 11, he goes from number 1 to number 3.
Yeah.
Half a touchdown separates Saquon, Gibbs, and Robinson. If you told me I went into my draft and my selection was a wheel that had pie slices for all 3 of these guys, I would not care. I really wouldn't. I think all 3 of them, there's an upside case for all of them. right? Saquon keeps doing what he's doing on the best offensive line. Jahmyr Gibbs, camp seems to be like this is his team now, and he showed he can be the number one back when he gets all the work and has big play potential. And Bijan, like you said, like if they're a above 500 team, even not even a super team, an above 500 team, there's no way they get there without Bijan, and he can score 16, 17, 18 touchdowns in the right season. So
yeah,
I'm really cool with those guys.
I personally would.
You put Saquon in there, or
Henry.
Christian McCaffrey.
I would put Henry and Christian McCaffrey all in
five.
There. Yeah, to me, Christian McCaffrey has a lot more issues. The reason why you're saying in the beginning of the first round you're not going to draft Christian McCaffrey is because even like Mike, you've got him as the running back 1, but there's no doubt he carries more risk or flags than some of these other guys who can have an equal chance of finishing as the running back 1. I agree. So like I wouldn't select Christian McCaffrey over those guys in the tier, but he is in that tier of range of outcomes.
Yeah, I think McCaffrey and Saquon is the most interesting discussion with the ceiling years, right? Because McCaffrey's super year was 22 points a game. Last year was basically where Saquon was. So do you expect either guy to come back and give you a year like that again? Certainly possible. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be holding your breath, hoping that these guys stay healthy. That's another big part of it.
Yeah, last year was other than Christian McCaffrey, it was a pretty healthy year
now
for
Mike
running backs historically.
We need to get into this. I mean, Mike has the number 1 overall pick in our league of record.
Yeah.
He has got, now it's a keeper league, so
he's already got Christian McCaffrey,
he
of course.
has Christian McCaffrey on the roster.
Yeah, why do you think I got the number 1 pick,
and
guys?
there are oh my gosh.
That's
you think
you
there's
need
not
to
correlated?
go to counseling. No, he's got to choose between Bijan and that's funny, right?
It is so funny, right? Because Mike has dealt with this every year with Christian McCaffrey.
Like his response to dying at the knife, at the dagger jab of Christian McCaffrey is, I want to feel more pain.
He really is Ricky
Or
Bobby.
redeem it. Is this a redemption thing? Is this like you lose the bet at the poker table, so double down, and then you get all your money back?
It is understanding that every single workhorse running back is at potential of a season-ending injury every single game.
I agree.
No.
But you have to stare down Saquon and Bijan.
Yeah.
Those are the guys out there on the board.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other players are kept.
You will be making that decision.
You're making that choice, and who are you taking?
Well, I'm told that Robinson is guaranteed to play 17 games, so I got to counterbalance my McCaffrey risk with someone who's going to be there.
Don't play scared.
Yeah, don't play scared. Come on, man. All right, there you go. There's our top 10 running backs. We've got a top 10 tips and tricks episode coming to you tomorrow. We've got a mock draft episode on Thursday. The people are hungry for the mock drafts. And then we've got a My Guys announcement to make on Friday. So the My Guys episode hits on Friday. We got them locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Unless something else happens in practice or camp or, Dante Pettis or something like that goes on. We're pretty well locked. But that's coming on Friday. So it's a big week. I know some of you are already drafting this weekend. Make sure you're prepared. We got the UDK for Life giveaway, ultimatedraftkit.com. Pick it up. Get ready for your drafts this weekend. It's going to be a difference maker for you.
Sorry to Keanu Reeves. We'll get you on next time. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.